read those minutes and find everything to be in order, would like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, motion carries. Okay, first up is Mr. Beatty with the investment report.
Well, thank you, sir. We had one bid, and it was less because than what we were getting, and the LGIP has dropped to about where everybody's offering it at 1.78%, but we're getting 2.04, and so that's better than we're getting anywhere else. So we've just continued to leave our money with our bank.
How long will we be able to do that?
I think it was a 4-year contract, and we're beginning, I think, in the 3rd year of that. So we'll have to at least review that, and but it's been extremely beneficial.
Yeah, it's a good move on your part.
Well, we're thankful to them and working with us. So it's worked out well.
Basically, same as it was last month.
I believe it's down just a little bit, but pretty close.
6 basis points.
Huh?
It dropped 6 basis points.
6 basis points. I think it was down just a little bit.
Franklin Center.
Franklin Synergy.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Beatty on the report? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve his report.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Allen. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just give you one report. December is traditionally our largest month of tax collections by dollars. Our largest transaction month would be February, but by dollars, it's December. And you'll notice that our December report is down considerably because we had a very large mortgage payment, $51 million, that posted the 1st of January, not the end of December. They didn't get it to us till late. So when you look at where we are to date, we're right where we need to be. But when you look at those reports, it's going to look like, wow, where'd that go? I mean, $51 million is a huge amount of money. That money has come in and posted. It just didn't make the December report.
But if you took that 51, put it into the December, is it up over last year?
It's up just a little bit, it's within just a few tenths of a percentage point of where we normally run, just over 50% collections, which is normally where we run. But like I say, February will be the largest transaction, and then that bleeds over into March. So we really don't have we know kind of at the end of March where we are on a year's collections, because that mail will bleed over. But normally those mortgage companies will pay us earlier in December, and this one they just didn't get it all processed to us. Just want to let you know kind of why those numbers look the way they do.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Lisa will be showing you in just a moment.
Yeah. I was afraid she'd rat me out and wouldn't tell the truth about it. So I want to thank y'all.
Thank you. All right. Fund condition report, Ms. Lisa.
Okay, starting with the development tax, we received $654,750 in December. It brings our total for the year to $3,875,250. I believe we've met our estimate for development tax. On the cash report, as of end of December, we had $264,440,000, of which $250,183,000 was operating funds, $14,257,000 being borrowed funds. When you go down this list, I mean, it really does show the $51 million not coming in at the end of December. You can see all the funds that have property tax going in them are less than where we were December last year. That being general fund. Highway is up, they have other money, but general fund and schools, I think. Yep, schools are the big one, and debt service. You really see that. Also, in January, of the money that we borrowed, January is one where we're getting ready to implement those interfund notes. We haven't moved the money yet, but we will do that in January before we close. there's not any more questions, we'll go to the cash review, revenue review. And again, on that one, you see, when you look at the line total local taxes, for example, in the general fund, this is all local taxes. We are about 41% collected to date compared to last 5 years, we're above 50% at this time. Again, that big payment is skewing those numbers. As I said, development tax is 26.8% over last year at this time. Hotel motel tax is an increase of 9.4%, and our sales tax countywide is at 4.28% over the same period last year.
Hotel motel, is that on here?
Yes, it's at 9.4. Those three are, that I speak to, are in total local taxes.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Any questions? She has, we were talking about this a few minutes before reviewing this, and she has put that in, so our collection is around, what, 51% now? Somewhere in there.
Yes, I mean, as I said, it came in January, and I just ran this because I was kind of watching, waiting to see when they posted it. But as of the 7th is when I ran this, and we're at 54% collected of the property tax.
So we're basically where we should be, actually a little bit above.
Well, we're at the 7th.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice, that way.
Okay, you've heard a report, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Mr. Piercy.
Second.
Any second? Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, motion carries. Okay, next is risk management. Ed, welcome.
Good evening. Good, how are you? Okay, 264 fund, if you look at the current year, you see $77,643,457 in revenue, and with expenditures being $73,904,290. The difference of that is $3,739,168. And this year, current under the fiscal year, you have $31,871,978 in revenue compared to $39,283,601. And the difference of that is a negative $7,411,623. If you move over to the tracker, for the month of December, you will see December 19, where there was a difference of $127,000 and $439. When you look at the trend, we are making some headway, but a lot of it's going to depend on the next 6 months. As we finish the year for 2019, you see on that, as I mentioned earlier, the $3.7 million difference. That's about 0.048, the difference between revenue and expenditures. And according to what I've researched and been told, we want to stay above 0.03. So, we look good for the end of the year 2019. 266 fund. 266 fund, if you look at your graph, in year-over-year paid claims for December 2019, we have $42,967 compared to December 2018, $51,700. What I will mention for the month of December is your workers' comp. And sometimes it fluctuates depending on old claims. This month, workers' comp was $40,865 of the $42,000, and OJI was $40,102. So the majority of that was OJI this time. And next page, you will see year-to-date. Again, for 2019, you'll see $223,298 compared to last year-to-date at $417,881. And it's about 53% of what it was last year. Then the liability legal expenses. If you can look at your chart, you will see for paid to Hudson Reed and McQuarrie for the month of December, $30,752 compared to $14,603 in the month of December last year.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Avon? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Johnson,
Second.
second. Mr. Allen, thank you. Are any other questions for Mr. Avon? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Avon.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
Okay, now we have a general fund budget amendment for agriculture extension. Welcome.
Welcome. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We're looking to make a couple improvements at Lang Agri Park. One is to, actually we're gonna move $20,000 from our AGR line, that's the rent line, to purchase some livestock panels for our livestock barn. With the growth in our livestock program, we need some additional pens, especially for sheep, goats, in the hog program. And also to take out the carpet that's been in our office area by the hallway since we built the building, and put down some laminate floors. Got it quotes. So both of them got $10,000 each.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions for Mr. Tobin? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Pettit?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Tobin. Okay, next up is the emergency management performance grant for emergency management.
Good
Welcome,
evening.
Mr. Hook.
Thank you, sir. We go through this annually. This is to accept a grant that we have received from the federal government called the Emergency Management Program Management Grant. It is put together based on a certain percentage of our annual budget to help us with expenditures with the Office of Emergency Management. So the total of this year's grant is $69,350.
No matching funds.
No, sir.
Yes, there is matching funds,
Oh,
and
there
they're
are.
already in the budget.
Already in the budget.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
it's equal.
And we have to follow a certain criteria annually to be able to receive these funds, so.
Same amount we've gotten for as long as I've been here, and probably longer than that, so
It's been budgeted, no new money.
yeah, budgeted every year.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Gooch, your second. Is there any other questions for Mr. Hooker?
I'm just curious, what's the criteria?
There's a lot. It's annual training, exercises, planning requirements, National Incident Management System requirements, a lot of federal and state requirements that we have to follow to be able to match the criteria for receiving the grant.
Any other questions? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Pettit?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have a general fund budget amendment for Paul's. I think Mr. Gregory's there. Yeah, there he is. Welcome, Mr. Gregory.
Thank you.
This evening, we're asking to amend $30,000 to our budget to add with monies that we had previously budgeted to replace our roof. When we took bids on the roof, we had originally been told around $55,000 would work, but once they were opened, it was $84,900.
Mr. Chairman, if you recall, you asked about going with a metal roof, and we had already checked into that, and I'd had Ben check into it, and it was going to be it was over $100,000, I believe.
It was going to be, yeah, I think he said a couple $100,000.
Yeah, for a metal roof, so I thought we could put it on, it'd last forever, but, you know, this is, the reason this is higher is because that roof is put on with nails. It has to be driven in with nails. It's a sloped roof. I don't know why Ben says that they can't use the nail gun. I'm not a contractor, so, but it's done by old-fashioned way.
How many bidders did you have? The first time that we bid, we just had one. We rejected those and came back and had two at that point.
Same bidder?
Yes, sir.
Shingle roof.
Yes, sir.
Is this a shingle roof?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do you know how many squares the shingle?
I don't know how many squares it was, but it does have on here that it's 18,182 square feet of shingle roof to replace.
100 square foot per square? Is it 181 square? Seems very high, but I don't know how to judge it.
But you had two bidders this time?
We did have two bidders this time. The other bidder was the person that bid the first time, and their bid came down to 143, as I recall. Yes, it was 143,650. Let me see what they put down there. They don't list the price per square.
So Lisa, it's your recommendation, we just pull it down from ending fund.
Right.
It has a new ridge and it has drip edges and stuff, but that's $469 a square. Pretty high. Seems.
This went through purchasing, I assume.
It did.
I don't think
It's just a
our own purchasing.
humble roof.
That's
It's
right.
not terribly steep, it's not cut up.
What's wrong here?
You'll get shingles and me and you go out there and...
I know, right? And the answer's no, I won't, so. I'll pay.
Looks like you're on your own.
Less than 400.
Remember, you got to use a hammer.
Don't be all good.
Okay. Let's see, do we have a motion on this? We do not.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Gooch
Second.
and Commissioner Johnson, motion and second. Is there any other discussion or any other bids coming?
No,
Okay, hearing none, let's call roll, please.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Greer.
Have a good night.
Thanks for rebidding it. That's a lot of effort, I know.
Okay, next up is the ambulance service, and welcome.
Good evening.
We are requesting to move $63,000 from our assigned fund balance into the motor vehicles line item for our convalescent division. And the bid for the van was approved by the Purchasing Committee and Public Safety on December 19th. We have surpassed, we have more collections than our total yearly budget now, and Lisa can explain, she's got the up-to-date figures. But
As of December, and this is $435,624 in revenue compared to $181,843 in expenses. So that's showing a net increase of around $254,000.
It's coming out unassigned.
It's coming out of unassigned, but once all this closes, I think it will replenish it.
It came through purchasing unanimously.
And also passed through public safety
too.
unanimously. That's where I saw it. And I just wanted to say, that's something we've been following is on this convalescent care is where we're gonna be making money off there. Well, it's about $250,000 to the plus right now.
For a half a year.
And, right, we've got another 6 months to go. So we're definitely headed in the right direction on this. So those of us that are still following.
I just have one question. We had looked at leasing one of our vehicles. Is there a reason we want to purchase instead of lease these?
I don't think they're leasing any, y'all not leasing any vehicles. They're all purchased.
One of our admin vehicles is being leased.
What about those boxes, the ambulance
Yes.
boxes? Couldn't be leased or something, so it's just in a frame and chassis,
Yeah, I was just curious. I didn't know.
maybe?
We
Something
do,
like that.
we do rig mounts, but you can only do that once.
Yeah, it's not anything I feel strongly about. I was just
Right.
curious. What was it?
Vans are a whole lot, gonna be a lot cheaper for the purpose of what they're gonna be used for.
Okay. Well, we've heard the discussion. Are there any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Johnson? Mr. Piercy, second. I was gonna say, fixing to fail for lack of a second there.
One quiet, wasn't it?
Right, it was. And this is for one unit, that's correct.
I was busy reading.
To give you an example, our regular ambulances, this is basically a van, but the regular ambulances run quite a bit higher.
130,000,
Okay.
around, give or take.
So basically half the cost, but they're doing a different type of transportation.
And you're going gas instead of diesel.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Dodds?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gooch?
Yes.
Mr. Peak?
Yes, and motion carries. Thank you, Carl.
Thanks, Sean.
Okay, next, I'd actually ask the school board superintendent, Mr. Spurlock, and Doug, to come talk to us about a proposal that they had, that they took to our IDB board. We discussed this the other night in Public Works. And also, they've got some information, if you'll pass that out, Doug, of something that we've already passed. And we talked about it the other night with our state representatives, the legislation that Charlie Baum.
They've got all this on there, right there.
Okay. But if any of you want to see hard copies of
Same one I had
that.
it.
Yes.
The other night.
All right. All right, what you'll see on that first one there is, and Doug and I had a
First
conversation.
item, I'm sorry. First item we have is the Capital Investment Act.
Okay, the first Capital Investment Act. Okay, the Capital Investment Act was what was discussed the other night in our meeting. What this does is it looks at the fastest growing school districts over the previous 5 years that average a 2% growth or more, and it allocates some funding back from state sales tax to the system. Doug looked at this, and I think there's approximately about 40 districts that qualified last year. Now, that doesn't say they'll all qualify going forward. And what it would have provided for us in terms of funding back to us would have been $3,760,904. Which would go a long way for addressing some of our capital improvements that we have. Now, I know it was talked about the other night, there were 3 different options, I think. Senator Reeves mentioned, for example, that it may be a one-time thing and they would go back and ask for it, or it may be a recurring thing. And of course, we would like for it to be a recurring thing because we could, we could take care of a lot of our issues with our buildings with this being recurring. And I think as we've talked, and we've started early in the process talking to our state legislatures, and they're on board with it. And I think I think this perhaps, and Doug can speak more on this, I think this has a good opportunity perhaps maybe to be approved this year.
Yes. speaking with some of the other counties, they're aware of it too. Williamson County is really getting out in the front with coordinating with other counties, and that's listed in the growth counties to make sure they're aware of this. And of course, they're touching base with their state delegation to make sure that they know, hey, we support this as well, because they see the benefit to this to try to catch up on some educational capital projects and funding for that. So this could be a good chance this year.
Well, the other night, maybe it was just me understanding it this way, but Charlie talked like they hadn't really decided which avenue they go.
That's correct.
To whether they were going for a reoccurring or one lump or what. So have y'all got any feel of that we don't have?
We really haven't. You know, I know this does have, I think it has a fiscal capacity on it in terms of what they're looking at. I think, what was it, 31, 32 million? I mean, and then quite frankly, there's a limit. I mean, they're not going to go, and I remember last night in the meeting, they were talking about the educational savings account. I mean, they're putting 25 million in that each year for the first 3 years. And I think this is something right here that probably can gain legs. Now, the issue when it was brought out originally, I think it was limited. It was larger, and it's smaller in its scope, and it would only touched a few counties. So I think that's the reason why it wasn't able to be passed. And last year, I think it got behind budget. You know, there's a lot of things that were going on. I thought Doug mentioned something about hepatitis. Was it hepatitis?
In the state prison.
In the state prisons.
Combat that.
Yeah. So there was a lot of things going on at that time.
One thing, as he just mentioned, part of the reason it didn't grow legs maybe is because of the participants. And basically, you got 95 counties, and this could potentially take some money away from the more rural areas. You know, the list that you've got, that's why I'd ask him to bring in hard copies of that. Those are most of the high growth type counties, and there's enough legislators attached to those counties that it would pass if those legislators support it from those counties. So that's part of the reason why the legislation was
And one of the
drawn
things,
that way.
and one of the things that we try to articulate to our people is this is Rutherford County part of the state sales tax. We're not, I know it all goes into the same big pot, but this is money that's being generated here on the state portion of the sales tax. And I think, I don't know that, of course, the smaller counties, they're going to probably not. I don't know how they take it, Doug. You've been around in these smaller counties a lot longer than I have been. What kind of, how would you think they would have?
They're always asking from the rural side, they're always asking for more funding for the BP. And just like us, but they have different challenges because they're not growing. What's interesting about that a lot of the rural county systems in Tennessee are actually contracting. They're shrinking in their ADM every year. And for example, Canyon County, they've lost ADM for 12 straight years, except last year they had a 25 ADM increase. That's the first time they grew in 12 years. So they have challenges, but they're completely different from Rutherford County. The good thing about this funding is it's like Charlie Baum said, it's outside the DEP.
Right.
So that removes that. Well, what about us? Well, you're not building schools like we are. This is
And keep in mind, as far as the BP works, the ability to pay, the Tassar-Fox index, as that decreases, the state increases, which means it takes from, the ones that have more greater ability to pay. So in theory, that's how that BP is. It's not a budgeting plan, it's a spending plan. Or excuse me, it's not a spending plan, it's a budgeting plan.
Like appropriations. Appropriations.
Appropriation.
Well, I mean, if you look at our gas tax, for instance, and Doug, I know you can elaborate on that, is basically we're a bigger county, so we're putting a lot more money into the state gas tax. But when it comes time to distribute those monies, Grundy County probably gets, they get the same amount we do. And, they don't produce nearly the amount of money that goes in. I mean, there's a huge difference there, but The difference is they got good lobbies.
It's based on road mileage?
Well, it's based on the county portion is based on a 3-part formula for state shared fuel tax for the counties. The cities, it's interesting, the cities, they're apportioned out fuel tax. And I know we're not talking about fuel tax, but this is a good example. Fuel tax is sent out to the cities by population. So city of Smyrna, city of Murfreesboro receives it based on, their population. Though the larger the city, theoretically, the more traffic you have. On the county proration, and this has been in effect since like the 60s or 70s, it's a 3-part formula. And it's 25, the counties receive out of the county bucket fuel tax for the 95 counties, they get 25% of their distribution based on population, like the cities. Then another 25% is based on land mass, not road miles, but land mass. So, and then the other 50% is equal shares. So equal share meaning 50% of all fuel tax that goes out to the counties, Clay County gets the same 50% share as Rutherford County does. And in Wayne County, because they have more land mass, even though we have over 100 more miles of county road than Wayne County, they receive that 25%. They get a greater share of that. We help with the 25. And Tasser did a study on that back in the 80s and said, or 90s, I'm sorry, and they pointed back to a study the General Assembly did back in the 70s saying that there's no logical reason why that should be like that. That needs to be amended for population, but that's never happened.
Basically, what we're looking at here is we're trying to keep more of the tax dollars generated here in our county. Right. So, of course, we've already voted to support this last year, I guess it was. So anyway, I wanted to, since it was brought up the other night, and most of us were already there, but, it's good to have a good review. And somebody asked us about it. We're desperately looking for other means of revenue to build these schools and infrastructure besides getting in their taxpayers' pocket, one we already have.
Will this keep the same bill numbers? I mean, do we need to do an updated one with the new bill numbers? Because I know, like it says here, the cap at 7 million, and
They remain the same.
They do remain
They'll stay the same because the General Assembly is 2 years, so they'll sign it at the end of this year and they go away if it doesn't pass.
Oh, one reason too we're here tonight is I know several of you, are active in the County Commissioner Association and know commissioners from some of these other growth counties. So we're asking you as commissioners to please reach out to the ones that you know in some of these growth counties and let them know. Like I said, Williamson County's been very active, reaching out. But the more people that would, if you have a relationship with a commissioner from one of these other counties, it would be great.
Or a mayor.
Or a mayor, yes, or a mayor.
Mayor's caucus.
Mr. Stevens.
Is this something that you generated with the action item on, or is it something that was circulated by someone else?
On
The first page where it says action item, have county commissions.
I did. Mr. Spurlock.
Did we do this? Did we send something to Governor Lee's office, or did we just send something to our legislative delegation?
Back in November, the commission voted on this, and so we forwarded it to, I guess, these other counties and to the states.
It was your resolution, that was the one, the joint resolution with the school board. It was written that the county clerk would then send the signed resolution to our state delegation and to the governor's office.
Is it just restricted capital projects?
And education debt service. Yes, sir.
And this is not something we need to take any action on unless there's somebody who wants to take some action on this.
Just want to make you aware.
And two, like I said, it'd be handy if you do know some of these folks, you've got a hard copy there of what counties are in this hunt with us. So if you know people in those, to please call. And the next item that he'll be talking about is the same thing.
The next item is an internal one. This is the request for a pay in lieu of tax for the county portion of the property tax abatement. We did go to the IDB board back in, was it November, Doug? And talked to them on this, and we left, and they appeared to be, they appeared that they were listening, and they thought it was a good idea. But what we would like is, once again, we would like for you guys to get behind it. What it primarily does is, as we bring industry in and there's tax abatements being provided, that the industry would pay to the county the full portion of the school's rate of the property tax. And I think Doug, this is not new. There are two, I think you put down here, two systems that are currently doing this. Hamilton County and also Williamson County. I think you referenced this as last year what they brought in for this portion. Like I said, this is just another way for us to get funding from another source, and I think that's what we talked about a lot last budget year. And I think it's supposed to come up sometime here pretty soon, right?
On the 29th, Wednesday the 29th is the next Industrial Development Board meeting, and I believe they were going to discuss it then. They had, last month they spoke about it. It went in the paper. We're making you aware too because it went in the newspaper. Ms. Berger covered that last month. And they were going to the IDB was going to get with Younger and Associates, who does their cost benefit analysis that's been approved by the commission, 3-to-1, and then report back to the IDB this month, with their recommendations. Like Ms. Spurlock said, Williamson County, in this area, in this region, in Middle Tennessee, Williamson and Hamilton County have both been doing this for several years, that they require their IDBs, when they do a tax abatement for new industry coming in, they can abate the non-educational portion. And of course, tax abatements it's very effective in an economic toolbox. Because it helps decrease risk of a company that's transferring from out of state. But what they're doing with requiring a payment in lieu of taxes for the school portion is they're going back to, and I put that in a couple pages back, it's a best practice from national best practice and something that PASSER recommended that the IDBs look at.
And one of the things when we looked at, what attracts businesses here, obviously, the abatement is good, but it's not the be-all, end-all. It's a skilled workforce, it's good schools, obviously good roads, things, quality of life and things of that. So we feel like we're part of that process as a school system is in order to maintain good schools, provide skilled workers. We think that working through our chamber, in fact, that was the first person I went to, and they were on board with that also. So, I think it could be a win-win for everyone.
I believe Senator Reed said that he's sponsoring this Senate Bill 198.
Mm-hmm. He did.
So that's what I gathered from the meeting.
That's right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. So it stands a pretty good chance of passing like this.
But this pilot would not require any state action.
No, this would.
We could choose to do this internally. And does the IDB board work at the behest of the commission or other way around?
Well, I had a question on the way their charter is written. I know the 3-to-1 ratio, we voted on that as a commission, and we did that at their request, so they basically could negotiate without having to come to the commission first and ask and then go back, because it just delayed, the time that it took to negotiate a contract with them. So I don't know, Mayor, did you get a chance to speak to our attorney as far as the way that, is that something we can as a commission initiate, or they need to initiate it and us approve it, or?
I did not get a chance to talk to Nick. He was tied up in court proceedings. So I'm waiting on his call. Maybe by tomorrow I'll hear something from him. But I'm under the impression of the latter, that they can initiate and we approve.
And after thinking about it, I talked to Lisa about it too, and she reminded me that it was basically their request, and then we decided that we'd go that route too, because used to, you know, it was kind of arbitrary how these folks were approved. And I know Mr. Baker, when he became chairman, brought to us a really good idea. They use a software program, and they plug it in, and you either make it or you don't. And if you don't do that 3-to-1 payback, then you're off. Now, they can come to us and ask for an exception. And if we put this in here, I could see that there might be a time that somebody would come to us and ask for an exception. But my personal opinion on this, well, a couple of opinions. First of all, I want to tell the superintendent, Doug, thank you so much for bringing these ideas to us. These are both initiatives that would bring in revenue without getting in our taxpayers' pocket again, as we mentioned. And you know, we're used to the school board coming and saying, hey, we need this all the time. Well, I'm glad to see them coming and saying, hey, guys, we're trying to help too, because they realize what the problems are. But I would suggest that we, as a committee, forward to the full commission, maybe to send a letter to our IDB board in support of this initiative. I think that would, you know, I think it'd be a good idea for all of us to call the ones that we know and make contact with them. That's great. But I'd like to see if the committee wants to, you know, come back with a positive recommendation and forward this to the full commission and get this to our IDB board members before it's the fourth Wednesday they meet, as you said, 29.
Yes, sir.
So, but that's up to the committee if y'all want to do that too.
I'll make the motion that we do that.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion about these? Or this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Spurlock.
Thank you. And for the commissioners that didn't notice it, I copied off our website. If you don't know, this is all the list of the current members on the IDB.
We should have, by next Thursday, we should have opinion from our attorney as far as whether we can initiate this or whether it needs to come through the IDB. Either way, I think we need the input from the IDB and we need their support regardless.
Yes.
Whether it's initiated by us or by them. So.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, Bill.
You want?
I thought you'd take us out to eat.
Excuse me, but I believe you are on the IDB board, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm on the PBA.
PBA?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry about that. I think it was one of those meetings.
One of them.
Okay, let's see. I believe we're ready for item 11, presentation of debt service fund cash flow and debt management policy for the 3-star program. And this is something we're required to do each year, I believe.
For the 3-star program, and the 3-star program really is, really gets pushed by our Chamber of Commerce, and our part of it, this is part of the program, is that we have to document that we have reviewed our debt management policy, that we have annually look at our cash flow requirement to make sure that there's sufficient cash to pay our debt service, and then to confirm that we have our internal controls documented. And so that's what this is. It's for your review. The second page is the cash flow, and it's where it's the, as of the end of December, look at the bottom line. So like I told you, in January, we'll be moving that $22 million out to help fund the interfund capital outlay note. And you can, bottom line, we have sufficient revenue to pay our debt. And then following that is our debt management policy. The last time we needed a change to it was in April of 2014. And I don't have any recommendations to change any of our policy at this time.
This is basically a housekeeping measure.
This is a presentation.
Just a presentation that you're aware of.
And we'll have this at the commission, and then we'll be able to sign off on that first page.
You need a recommendation from this?
It's really just a presentation.
Just a presentation.
One thing this does is the three-star program allows us to get grants that we, otherwise, if we weren't part of the three-star program, we couldn't get.
Where we've used it, well, the schools have used it mostly on the energy efficiency loans. We've received, because we're three-star, we've received some loans at 0%. And what this last one is it 1.5? Yeah, it's a pretty low interest to take care of these energy efficiencies initiatives at the schools. They don't have one for county jail looked, but they did one.
Same.
That's it.
Well, we appreciate that. Now, is there any other business?
That was a nice presentation.
Thank you
so much.
It was. I'm just at odds. I believe this is the quickest we've been to the end of our agenda since y'all have been on the committee, and I'm glad.
We'll take advantage of it.
We'll take advantage of it. We're adjourned.
Very good.